Thank you for joining us today as we discuss web browsers. First, we're going to start with a definition of what a web browser is and follow up with some recommendations and academic computing services best practices. So to get to our first question, what do we mean when we say web browser? With so many different technical terms being thrown around every day, we can sometimes take for granted that we're all on the same page. So I want to take a minute and really discuss what we mean when we say web browser. There is a fun video clip. You can find this separate in our materials on the Byte of Technology website. So if you'd like to watch that now, you can. In the video, a Google representative asks a bunch of random people in Times Square, New York City on a particular day to define what a web browser is. Unfortunately, only 8% of people he interviews that day can accurately get it right. So, I'm sure that you would have much better statistic than that, but let's get started with our official definition anyway. Google and Yahoo are search engines, not web browsers. Web browsers are the programs you use to access websites, such as Google or Yahoo or MyDamon or CNN.com or, well, any other website. Anytime you open up a program on your computer or your phone or your iPad and you type in a web address, you're using a web browser. Here are the 5 biggest web browsers used and readily available today. So we're going to start at the top and go clockwise. The first one at the top is Safari. This is Apple's web browser. It comes standard on all Macs, iPhones, iPads. Moving clockwise, the next one down would be Firefox. That's available for Windows or Mac. Let's see, the O represents Opera. That one is a little lesser known, but it's been around for a while. The E symbol probably looks familiar by most people because this is Internet Explorer, which happens to come on all Windows machines by default. This is Microsoft's web browser. And finally, the red, yellow, and green circle, that represents Chrome, which is owned by Google. And actually, it's the most popular and most used web browser out there today. So what do web browsers look like? Well, I'm sure that you look at them every day, but you probably rarely, if ever, stop to really pay attention. You might not even realize which one you are using because they can look so similar. You can see these 2 snippets. The one at the top is showing Internet Explorer, that's under the E, and then under the Chrome symbol we have just the header of the Chrome browser. So at first look, you're going to see that there's more similarities than differences. They both have back and forward buttons, they both have address bars, and then even though they're in slightly different places, they both have home buttons. Okay, Internet Explorer's is up here, Chrome's is down here. They both have reload buttons, they both have buttons to get to more settings and more features, but you know, they have the same buttons, just slightly different look and feel, maybe in a different location. This is a look at the new version of Internet Explorer has been released with Windows 8. Okay, so why are there so many different web browsers out there? Well, we have so many different options for the same reason that there's different computer manufacturers. Competition is good for the consumer. They're constantly improving and updating and changing what they offer to remain competitive and clicked on. Remember, Microsoft makes Internet Explorer, Apple makes Safari, Google makes Chrome. These are big companies, and they're all competing for your business. So on the day of my workshop, I went to Wikipedia and I got this graph. So this was just the usage share of web browsers. Someone out there did a survey and they tracked what browser people were using, and they found you know, these statistics. So which web browser is winning right now? Well, as of May of last year, Chrome has taken the lead, and they've finally overtaken Internet Explorer's stronghold. What's remarkable is that Internet Explorer and Safari, as I've already said, they come pre-installed on devices. So Internet Explorer comes pre-installed on Windows machines, Safari comes pre-installed on Macs. But the winning one is Chrome. Okay, so that means that there must be something compelling enough about Chrome that's worth the inconvenience of people having to go out and seek that program and install it on their own. So Chrome must, Google must be onto something with Chrome. Alright, so here's another look at where we've been and where we are now. First, Internet Explorer. That was by far the default. Over the last 2 years, Mozilla Firefox was seen as a great competitor of Internet Explorer, and of course, as of last May, Google Chrome is the new guy in town and is squashing the other ones. But still, where do we go from here? It's anyone's guess. Technology moves at such a rapid rate, a couple of years can become ancient history. So we have to keep reevaluating what tools we're using to make sure that we're using the ones that can enhance our productivity the most, and we're using the best alternatives for us that are out there. Alright, so that brings us to the big question. How do we choose which web browser we should be using? If you're like most people, you want your web browser to do 3 things. You want it to be fast. You don't want to have to wait longer than you absolutely have to for a web page to load. You want your web browser to be reliable. You want those web pages to load correctly every time. And you also want your web browser to be convenient. You want it available when you're ready to use it. Alright, so which web browser is going to fit all 3 of those criteria the best? Well, unfortunately, it gets more complicated than that. The competition is fierce, and there's not one option out there today that's going to meet all 3 of those criteria, hands down, for all people on all computers and for all purposes. In fact, that's the key point. What we're finding is that the task on hand usually plays a huge role in determining which web browser is best for you. Alright, here's a look at Google Chrome. This web browser, made by Google, pairs very nicely with our daemon email because our daemon email is provided by Gmail, Google Mail. So because Google makes both products, they seem to play very nicely together. And so we normally recommend that if you are checking your daemon email, that you're opening it up in a Chrome browser. There's also a few little add-ons called extensions available in Google Chrome that could make your life a little bit easier. By default, you're going to see this Google Calendar extension and Google Drive extension are already loaded. So when you open up Google, this would be your landing page, or if you open up a new tab, you'll get back to this screen. And automatically there are these icons here, and if you click on them and you're signed into the Google Chrome browser, your daemon calendar or your daemon Google Drive files will automatically open up in new tabs for you. So those are little shortcut links for you. There's also a way that you can install what's called the Google Mail Checker extension into your Google Chrome browser. And we have a short snippet video that's available on our Byte of Technology page that will walk you through the steps to get that extension installed. Okay. We also have another feature in Google Chrome that we want to talk about, which is how you can sync tabs across Chrome sessions. So if you have Google Chrome open on your Office computer and you have Google Chrome opened up on your iPad, and then you go to a meeting with your iPad and you're searching for something, and then you close down your iPad and you're back working in your office, you can pull open any web pages that you had that you were browsing for on your iPad right there on your Office computer, or vice versa. You're in the meeting and you're like, oh, I was looking at something on my Office computer or on my home computer or on my phone. How do I load those pages? How do I get back to those pages? Well, Google Chrome has synced them across your devices. So we have a video that explains how to sync tabs across all of your Chrome sessions, and that's available on our Byte of Technology website as well. Okay, so this brings us to which browser is right for you. Alright, we've already said that it's important to examine all of the features that each browser offers to see which one is going to pair best with what you're trying to accomplish. And we've mentioned that Google Chrome pairs nicely with email. It's also important for us to mention that DataTel Colleague recommends that you use Internet Explorer 9 with Silverlight 5 as an add-in. So if you're using DataTel Colleague to open up WebAdvisor, it is going to pair better with Microsoft's product because those services are run on Microsoft servers. So you want to use Microsoft's web browser, which is Internet Explorer. So I guess what we're saying is that you want variety, and you want alternatives. So if you're using Chrome for your email and then you need to access WebAdvisor, open that one up in Internet Explorer. And another academic computing services best practices: when all else fails and you're using your web browser of choice and a page just isn't loading, or you're getting pop-ups, or a bunch of toolbars have automatically installed, or something just is not going right, we would recommend to try switching to a different web browser and to see if you have better results, because sometimes spyware can attack one browser on your computer and there could be another browser installed on your computer that's completely uninfected. So that's good. It's good to have options, and then you can at least get your task at hand done, and then give us a call later so that we can help you sort through the problems and get all the browsers functioning correctly for you. All right, thank you so much for joining us today.